What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Sir?
The most you ever lost on a coin toss?
I don't know. I couldn't say.
No Country for Old Men is the 2007 neo-noir, neo-western film by the Coen brothers, based on the 2005 novel of the same name written by Cormac McCarthy. The film portrays a life-or-death cat-and-mouse game between three characters, with one of them being always a few steps behind the action. With its minimal use of sound and its masterful cinematography and storytelling, it has become somewhat of a masterclass in building tension. The cinematographer in charge of the movie was Sir Roger Deakins, who also did cinematography for some of the Coen brothers' previous movies, namely Fargo, The Big Lebowski, and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? His references, however, go much beyond this directorial duo. From the opening sequence, it is clear what themes the movie is trying to pull on, with wide establishing shots of landscape and civilization, illustrates the difference between modern day and the old world. It is clear the Coen brothers are playing into the classical Western tropes. These establishing shots, using a Steadicam, paired with the straight-on shots of the characters, make us feel as if we're solely observers to the chaotic sequences of events in the movie. The camera fuels this tranquil atmosphere in spite of the story. It also utilizes intense and extreme close-ups to build tension and get you closer to the character, and emphasizes their reactions. Let's take a look at the coin toss scene, where these close-ups are utilized whenever there's a cut between the gas station attendant and Anton. We're brought up closer and closer to their faces. This also helps build tension, as we can see their reaction getting more and more intense. An example of where the camera is used cleverly to depict the villain is when Chigurh blows up his car in front of the pharmacy. Here, the camera shoots from below, giving a sense of danger. And then we have this character who's been established as someone who's insane, who's looming over us, which makes him in control and godlike, making us feel uneasy. The lighting used in the movie also reflects Deakins' philosophy of less is more. Deakins relied a lot of the idea of wanting the light to be as natural as possible. Therefore, practical light sources are emphasized. This often causes a shadow to fall on the faces of the characters, also reflecting a sort of darkness looming underneath. The lighting also reflects the characters. Backlit and dark environments are especially seen with Chigurh to build a sense of danger and mystery. Well-lit and light environments are especially seen with Bell. The character's clothing also reflects this, with Bell being clothed in his tanned sheriff uniform and Chigurh in his black getup. This builds tension and clearly conveys the concept of who's good and who's bad. When shown in other environments, they look like different people. This especially also builds tension as the characters stand out in these environments, and the viewer is left wondering what is wrong and what will happen, as this creates a sense of unease. In general, No Country for Old Men has a minimalist approach to the sound design. The use of natural occurring sounds adds to the tension and overall believability compared to how noticeable they are. The volume of the sounds in the movie are mostly at a reasonable level, so to speak. In some cases, what would normally be quiet, minuscule sounds are amplified to an extreme level. An example of this would be Llewellyn moving the suitcase in the air vent. In this scene, Llewellyn is trying to be as quiet as possible as not to get noticed by Anton. A tiny squeak from the suitcase hits like a gunshot, breaking the intense scene and keeps the audience on the edge. The sound of his stick smashing into the side of the vent has the same effect, where a small mishap becomes the crucial sound in the scene. Looking at the coin toss scene at the gas station, which is also one of the most famous scenes in the movie, two interesting sound design choices are made. Firstly, the sound that swells up as the intensity of the scene also ramps up in the sound of a refrigerator humming at 60 Hz, but incredibly amplified, adding a sense of unease and discomfort. This adds to the unnerving feeling the entire situation gives off, with the sound being so unnaturally loud. Secondly, the peanut wrapper expanding after being held by Anton is just as the sound of the air vent being hit, unnaturally loud. The tension in the air is so thick you could almost slice through it with a knife. This peanut wrapper now becomes that knife. In general, the film's complete lack of a score, combined with the amplification of certain diegetic sounds, creates the feeling of Llewellyn's loneliness against the threat, which is Anton. When it comes to music, there's virtually no music throughout the movie. There's 2 instances: the mariachi band scene, where Llewellyn wakes up in Mexico, and the credits. This adds the effect, creating a world that is harsh and gritty, where it becomes more believable, as the real world does not have a soundtrack either. The song that causes Llewellyn's rude awakening in Mexico can be translated to this: you wanted to fly without wings, you wanted to touch the sky, you wanted many riches, you wanted to play with fire. Although the scene becomes almost a comedic relief, it still has this underlying storytelling within the lyrics of the song. In the lyrics, the touching of the sky is escaping with Carla Jean. The riches is the bag of money, and the fire is Anton. These lyrics reflect the story and combine different aspects of the movie making. Anton is a neat and tidy man who likes to keep himself clean, which is ironic when considering his bloody endeavors. One aspect of this is that we see him wanting to keep his boots clean, with him either removing them or making sure to keep them away from the blood. The fate of Carla Jean is left to the interpretation of the audience, although after Anton leaves her residence, he makes sure to check if his boots are clean. This could be a small hint as to what happened to Carla Jean. In this case, the boots become an example of the Chekhov's gun principle. In other words, no element to the story is irrelevant. Thus, the audience is rewarded for paying close attention to these smaller details. Certain elements are left unsaid, which gives an unsettling atmosphere, such as when Llewellyn leaves a car door shut and upon his return finds it opened, leaving the audience to deduce that somebody had been there, thus leaving story elements hidden in plain sight. In the world of No Country for Old Men, human life does not matter very much. People are killed around every corner. Llewellyn dies off camera, leaving very little satisfaction, and Anton escapes near-death experience. It does seem like when tension is released, it does not always seem to lead to a satisfactory release. Anton enters the wrong motel room, he gets away from Llewellyn after the shootout, and lives through a car crash. This is where the realistic and harsh reality of the world comes in. Like not having a soundtrack, life does not always have a satisfying conclusion, and does include misdirections, like not having the release of tension which we might have anticipated. The world is moving too fast for Sheriff Bell. With violence around every corner, we connect with his sense of dread for the state of the world, as we tense up when experiencing its harsh realities through our main characters. This world keeps us, as the audience, on edge, because we, like Bell, never truly know what to expect. Tension is built through a combination of cinematic devices, such as sound, cinematography, and the narrative. It is through all these elements that we get a tense experience, by being as grounded as possible. The world constructed is realistic, which makes it more tangible and unsettling. The movie's cinematic devices are stripped down to the bare minimum, making intense moments even more intense. The intensity only truly being over once the credits roll down the screen.